Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? And welcome to the first day of Dominaria United being legal. Here, we've got Mono Blue Spirits in Explorer, and the card that I've been super excited about for this deck has finally been released. Welcome to Combat Research. Now, I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me blather on about this, but I'll go ahead and read it just in case somebody hasn't seen it before. Combat Research is going to be a 1-mana aura that, just like Curious Obsession, attaches to one of your spirits and says whenever this creature deals damage to a player, you can draw a card. Super insano. I love this effect. And Curious Obsession is going to still be our best effect because it provides a +1 to all of our creatures. But Combat Research is a pretty good numbers 5 and 6 for that type of effect in this deck. But also, as long as Enchanted Creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and Ward 1. Later on, we'll be exploring a more Legends-focused version of this deck that plays Combat Research as its primary draw card function over Curious Obsession, but in this deck, none of our creatures are legendary, so we're going to be playing with 2 Combat Research and 4 Curious Obsession. Just about everything else is close to the same. The place where we wanted to find room for cards like Combat Research came from Ascendant Spirit, which I'm only going to be playing 2 of. 10 1-drops is still going to be very consistent when paired alongside 6 auras in your deck, so I do really like that. Here, we're going to be back up to 23 lands, and the reason we're going back up to 23 lands is because I want just that added chance of having access to double blue on turn 2 a little more often. And we're still going to be playing 3 copies of Slip out the back to protect our creatures once they actually are enchanted. We're playing 4 copies of Geistlight Snare because they were already good with Curious Obsession, but now that Combat Research actually exists, we are so much more likely to have both a Spirit and an enchantment in play on turn 2, making Geistlight Snare pretty godly. We're also going to be a little bit worried about the card Temporary Lockdown, which is going to be 1 a white and a white for an enchantment that says when this thing enters the battlefield, exile all cards that are not lands with mana value 2 or less until this thing leaves the battlefield. So Brazen Borrower can go ahead and bounce that. Previously, we were playing Nebelgast Herald, which is still going to be a 2 of in our sideboard, but Brazen Borrower dealing with the likes of Shark Typhoon tokens and Temporary Lockdown, I think that's going to be the move for us right now. And speaking of control, we're still going to be playing 4 copies of Faceless Haven. Our sideboard is going to have a whole lot of things tempered to a more aggressive metagame than I think we would normally otherwise expect. But this being day 1 leads me to think that we're going to see exactly 2 main archetypes, aggressive decks and red-black midrange. That's probably going to be it. To that effect, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Aether Gust, which are going to be good against the mono-green decks, which have been floating around the ladder, and of course against mono-red, which we absolutely fucking hate. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Negate, and these are going to be good against, well, really a lot of things. Good against many of the Planeswalkers that the mono-green decks like to play, good against decks like Blue-White Control, and they serve as pretty serviceable outs against red-black's removal. 2 copies of Unlicensed Hearse has a lot of jobs right now. It helps stop Greasefang almost completely. Red-black midrange isn't going to be allowed to play Croxes freely, and if we come across any other graveyard decks, that'll be nice too. Explorer specifically doesn't really have an Arclight Phoenix archetype, since there is no such thing as Temporal Trespass or Treasure Cruise in Explorer yet. But, in case somebody's playing it anyway, we still have Unlicensed Hearse for that too. 3 copies of Mystical Dispute will help a ton against a lot of things. Control decks exist, and best believe I'm not going to be the only one playing Mono Blue Spirits. So we're going to be playing 3 copies of Mystical Dispute to help deal with that. Again, we mentioned the 2 copies of Nebelgast Herald. These will be at their most useful against decks like Mono White Aggro, but they're pretty serviceable against a whole lot of other things too. They're good against red-black, except against Temporal Graveyard Trespasser. I almost said Temporal Trespass. They're really good in the mirror if you can get one to resolve. And I think this is going to be a pretty sweet little upgrade to our sideboard here. And then the real spice is going to come in 2 copies of Orval the Allform, and this is going to be our punishment for Liliana of the Veil. So Liliana of the Veil, I have to assume everybody watching this knows what she does, but in case we have some new players who haven't really been playing Modern, you might not have had a reason to interact with Liliana before. So she's going to be 1 a black and a black for a Planeswalker with Loyalty 3. Her +1 is each player discards a card, and that's where Orzhov comes in. The last part of discard is when a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent, and that doesn't say anything about it being a non-land either. So even if your board is empty, Orzhov, still real good for you. This will help with either Liliana's +1 or with your opponent casting a 2-mana Kroxa. You can discard your Orzhov, you can get a copy of either one of your auras and put it on one of your creatures so that you're drawing more cards to balance out the discard they're trying to play with. You can play one of your Faceless Havens if you're looking to, you know, kind of either ramp or just give yourself access to another win condition. And of course, doing a Faceless Haven would provide you with both functions. But also, you can just like copy a Supreme Phantom and just run your opponent over. There's a lot of good text that comes from this card, and I'm kind of here for it. And when it actually is on the table, it is a changeling, so that counts as a spirit even if it doesn't fly. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. And that does count for cards like Slip Out the Back. So if you have Orzhov on the table, your opponent's trying to kill one of your things with, I don't know, a Fatal Push, you can Slip Out the Back. Not only is that going to body the Fatal Push, but you're also going to get a token of the cool thing. So I'm pretty excited to see this card see a lot of play against red-black mid-range. And what we're going to do, as always, is jump right into 3, maybe 4 rounds of gameplay in Explorer with this version of the deck. Good luck to us, and I'll see y'all in the first round. Alright, we got our first round, and we're on the play. Look at this, y'all. Exactly as Richard Garfield intended. And if it's not, it's exactly what I intended. So let's hope they play a tapped land for maximum punishment here. Okay, that's not a tapped land, which means this guy's probably not long for this world. Okay, goodbye, Curious Obsession. I think that's still okay, though. Okay, so our Curious Obsession is dead. I am still going to play the Supreme Phantom here. So if they do use their turn to just like, I don't know, using Bonecrusher's Giant Stomp on this Ascendant Spirit. Oh, we're black-green with Gilded Goose. Oh no, are we playing against a Mayhem Devil deck? Please no. Blood Chief's Thirst. Okay, so I'm starting to think the answer is no, but let's see what happens now because we are fairly low on resources, so I would love to be able to have them think they're safe after using this Geistlight Snare, but only to walk into another one. And if I draw a Curious Obsession here, I'll be very happy. A Combat Research would be fine, but this will still block my Supreme Phantom, so that's not as good. Another land, however, is not exactly what we want. So let's see if we can start drawing gas. Absolutely not. Get that out of my face. Nope. Uh-oh. This ain't it. Ah! Land, stop! Give me spells. There's a Kalitas. Okay. Oh boy. This is what we're doing today. That's unfortunate. Our hand was so good. Alright, no blocks. And another Goose. Alright, so we're basically getting our attacks in Never here. And a third Graveyard Trespasser too. I think we're gonna pack this one up, y'all. Let's see what our draw step is before I actually concede, though. Oh, man. It's something really good. Shoot. I'm not exactly sad about it being something good, but I don't really want to have to give my opponent so much hope, you know? Oh, and they're just going full aggro mode. I don't even blame them if I'm being honest. So let's see what we can draw. A Shacklegeist actually is good for later, though. So I'm taking all, what, 12 here? Yikes. I guess it's only 10 then. I honestly don't think I really have reasonable outs, but I think I'm gonna fight the good fight anyway. A Rattlechains and a Shacklegeist. Okay. So doing it like this will at least disguise the fact that I have Rattlechains. Although, no, this is mostly fine. I'm gonna get to tap 2 things. I don't think it's worth playing Rattlechains on my turn to turn this into daytime. But I think I want to try this. So I guess I'll give you the good text. You are a Beholder creature. Okay. Oh, that's exactly 6 anyway. Never mind. So what I was thinking is that I could tap this and then let this attack and then live, but they have 2 creature cards in their own graveyard, so we are actually just dead. I could in theory just double block this. Whatever, I'll go to 1. Do not like. So they drain me for 2, and I'm gonna double block the Graveyard Glutton here. But then they get 2 tokens, or they get a token. I'm off it. Let's go to the next game. So that was kind of unfortunate because we were doing really good with our opening hand there. So what I'm going to assume is happening here is that I'm going to want the Orvars. And honestly, I think that's it. I don't particularly feel like I want to put in negate here. I want to take out the Brazen Bowers, I think. Or is Ascendant Spirit? No, I think Ascendant Spirit's going to be my worst card against a deck that's playing both Gilded Goose and Graveyard Trespasser, because I'm going to have to put a lot of mana into Ascendant Spirit just to be able to get off even really a basic attack, rather than I only need a single +1 effect on my Mausoleum or my Spectral Sailor to get through Gilded Goose. So I think Ascendant Spirit's going to be the worst against these decks that really want to gum up the ground. And I think that's going to be true in both Explorer and Pioneer. Well, we have this, so if they want to go ahead and cast Liliana, then I will be pretty happy to take advantage of that. All right, so here's a Mausoleum, and now let's see what happens from here. Okay, so I am going to cast the Shacklegeist here, get my little +1 in on my Mausoleum Wanderer, and see if I can get an attack for 2. And it looks like they don't have a Fatal Push or anything similar either, so if this is just going to be like untapped land... Oh, crap, they're just off it. Wow. I mean, my hand was pretty good though, so I'm not going to say it was justified, but it wasn't like... Okay, that was a little wild. We're going to keep the same configuration for game 3. Nope, that's better. So, going to keep 2 pair here, which is pretty good in case of Thoughtseize, and even that's not the worst. It's not good, but it's not the worst. So let's see what ends up happening here. If they cast like just a turn 2 Liliana, then I am sad about that. A Thoughtseize. Okay, that's fine. So I've got 2 1-drop threats, 2 slip out the backs. So a Thoughtseize is not exactly the worst threatening thing here. They probably take the Mausoleum. No, they take the Spectral Sailor. Wow. All right, I'm surprised. Okay, give us the old honky boy. I am going to play the Mausoleum and hold back on this. This way I can keep my slip out the back. Okay, so I will use one of these, which means life is going to get a little unfortunate if they have some kind of really sweet follow-up, but I can't really do anything about a really sweet follow-up currently. Oh, that's honestly not that sweet. Give me a land. Not quite, not terrible. Okay. If they block with both geese, I will flash in Rattlechains. I'm still going to flash in Rattlechains. All right, so 1 goose down, and now they can cast something big like a Kalitas or something, but I think I'm mostly okay. Okay. I wonder why they decided to take my spell instead of exiling their own goose. Like, they could have... Oh, hell yeah, let's go. I'm going to put Combat Research on my friend Rattlechains. So let's see. That's not a spell. Sick. So here they can go ahead and block my 1/1 Mausoleum Wanderer, but I'm actually okay with that. If they want to sacrifice their Gilded Goose for the sake of not letting me draw a card. Oh, Hagra Mauling. I pay 2 if they want to save it like that. I think I actually do want to do that. So they can pay 1 with this one, so I can't sacrifice the good... I'm sorry, the bad Mausoleum Wanderer to save it, but I get to do this and draw a card. I'm here for that. And it's the land for my Supreme Phantom. Cool. So now let's see what happens here. They attack me for 4, 5 total. I go to 11, they go to 15. That's mostly fine. And let's see what their follow-up is. Another Trespasser. Okay. Not a fan. Okay, now they're finally draining cards out of their own graveyard. Okay. A Curious Obsession, too. Okay. I do still need to worry about my life total here. They don't have any creature lands, though, so I'm gonna try to depend on my deck to give me as many cards as possible to get out of this. So they can, in theory, block 3, take 4, go to 12, and then come back with a really good attack, and then I'm stuck playing defense after that. But I have access to a lot more cards. Okay. And looks like that's exactly what's going to happen here. So let's see what we draw. And it's a slip out the back. That actually has a lot of potential. So in theory, they can attack me for 9. Well, that's not happening. Okay. So they do have the food. They can gain 3 life. I am taking this and going to 1. So I think I need to use this as a proactive spell, right? So I've got 1, 2, lowered is 3, slip out the back is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 if I draw another Supreme Phantom as my draw step. And I still have 3 more in my deck to be able to draw. So if that ends up being the case, then I can present lethal. If I draw a creature that is not named Supreme Phantom, then I can at least present options for double block, but I do still need to worry about 2 turns, not just 1, because it is food token. So they're realistically at 16, which means I should just attack with these 2, draw 2 cards, and then see what I can come up with from there. And as long as a creature doesn't hit the graveyard, then I'm safe from the drain and gain part of this too. So just attacking for 7, yeah. So they go to 6, I draw 2 cards, that's good, and that's good. All right, so what can I do here? I can flash in a creature, and I can actually kill one of these with the attack. All right, so I really just need to not have a creature hit the graveyard before combat. Okay. Which means I don't get to tap with Shacklegeist, because if I tap one, that's actually not good enough, right? Slip out the back. Yeah, no creatures. Sick. Okay, my slip out the back can die. So I'm going to put this into play, block one of these, and block the other. Yeah, sick. And now we have 9. Woo! My God, that was difficult. All right. Wow, that was not an easy match, but we see just how good Combat Research was already, because like this is not a matchup in which I would have wanted, hey, rank up, not a matchup in which I would have wanted Ascendant Spirit. I'm glad that we instead had the ability to help our flyers draw us into outs. If I had Ascendant Spirit that game, because they started out with 2 Gilded Geese and multiple copies of Graveyard Trespasser, you know, we wouldn't have been able to attack basically ever, because we didn't have access to flying unless we devoted 1,000,000 mana. But only drawing 3 lands, that was not ever happening. Also, I see that our opponent very pointedly did not play Liliana, and I don't know whether they simply didn't draw any, or whether this specific opponent didn't have the wild cards to make Liliana, but in more optimized builds, I definitely expect her to be a thing in these decks. So I'm glad that we already had the Orvar ready for our very first matchup. Just considering that this opponent might have been playing on a budget, I don't know. But I expect to see Liliana from other opponents. Either way, let's move on to the next round. Okay, our second round is here. We are on the draw. I've got Mausoleum Rattlechain's Curious Obsession. So I can play a little bit more of a patient game with Mausoleum Wander and then try to protect it with this Rattlechains, unless we get Thought Seized. Duress, which means our Curious Obsession's going away. Boo. Opponent, I wanted that. Alright, so I'm gonna hide the Ascendant Spirit as another 1-drop here. This actually has potential if I can get it up to a 2/3 at some point. As it stands, that's fine. Okay. They do know about all of these cards, so I'm going to just lay out the Shacklegeist. And if they have another Fatal Push or a cut down for it, then you got me. But if this somehow manages to untap, that's pretty good. I don't expect it to, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Looks like Fatal Push is going to be it. You got me? So we've seen 2 Fatal Pushes already, and that's actually pretty good. So now I can play this Ascendant Spirit, have it protected. They do know that it's protected, but I don't know if I care that they know. Oh, that's cool looking. Aw, yeah, let's start doing it. So now they have to have a removal spell, and they have to have 2 because I've got Rattlechains. So if that's going to be something other than what happens, I'm just going to be very happy to start drawing cards. To Kenzen to block. That's cool. So if they block with both, I'll just go ahead and pump. And I've got a 3/4 now, but I won't lie and say that was not a cool turn sequence. Now if they have another Fatal Push, they can just kill this, and they'll be pretty happy to do so. They have a 3rd Fatal Push. Ugh. Boo. Okay, and a Fable. That's a good follow-up. Land? Not quite. I'm just gonna bounce this now. Kolaghan's Command and Takenuma. Okay, and a Trespasser. All the good follow-ups. Can I have land? I cannot. Yikes. All right, I guess I'm gonna play this. Yeah, this may be one that, might have gotten away from us, y'all. Oh, my Lanta. Well, a little late, but I guess better late than never and all that. Yeah, I don't think we have too many reasonable outs here. Let's see. Okay, so they do have yet another Graveyard Trespasser. So what I can do here is just like flash in Rattlechains and block the one of the real ones so that I can get it off the table more permanently. They can have fewer attackers every turn. Blocking the token honestly does basically nothing for me. And then starting next turn, I'll have access to being able to block with the Faceless Haven as well. So there is a real plan in mind here. It's just gonna end up being a little bit of a slow one. So let's block a real one with this, take my 6, go to 8, and then in theory I can untap, and if I draw like a Combat Research or a I guess another Rattlechains fits the description. Okay. Yeah, alright. So they're gonna draw a card, go to 16. Okay. Thoughtseize. I will put Rattlechains in play, let them take the 2, and I can threaten a double block on Graveyard Glutton, the real one. I don't hate that. So if they do attack, then I can, or rather, if they attack with the real one, like they can attack with a fake one and have it be just fine. So I go to 7 here, and I'm basically really crossing my fingers that they do tap this. Yes, yes. All right. So now I just have to worry about the Hive from here. So I go to 6, and I'm gonna block the real one with these 2, and I do lose both creatures because once the Lord is gone, this is only gonna have 1 toughness, and the 4th point of damage is gonna finish it off. So, but this is gonna go away, and I've got Hive and Reflection to worry about here now. Another land would have been near perfect because I would have been able to block this just fine. Crap. I think we've lost anyway. Yeah, all they have to do is fire up the land. Alright. Yeah, we've lost this one. So a thing to know. If this was a Nebelgast Herald, then I'd have been able to tap this just fine. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, that doesn't work. And I actually am gonna fire this up and double block like this. What? Why can't I block? Oh my god, it's a Shacklegeist. Jesus Christ, I'm stupid. Oh my god, it's a Shacklegeist. Well, that's fine. Oh my god, I feel really dumb for that now. I know better. That's the first time I've done that in a really long time. I do not feel good about that, not gonna lie. Alright, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think I necessarily hate too much about the way that went. It's just that they had all of the stuff to line up. Like, they drew all of their removal early and then drew all of their threats right afterwards. So that game did get away from us, but I don't even think it was like, ugh, God. And this specific opponent plays the rest too. Yikes. Okay. It's not a good one lander if I'm being honest, but okay. I think I want to give myself a chance to draw another land to protect with Slip. Nope. Okay. Okay. That does help. Come on. Give me a land. Give me a land. Give me an island specifically. Crap. Okay. I don't know that we're long for this world now. Oh, well, that's annoying. Okay. Yeah, we really... Oh, thanks. Ugh, yuck. All right. So unfortunately, I kind of have to jam here because I can't cast a Geistlight Snare anyway. So if this is just like a Fatal Push, yeah, you got it. I don't really know how I'm going to get out of this. Liliana. So I am going to get to put a third land in thanks to the Orvar doing its thing. I can also put a copy of Liliana in, but then they can just attack it. So I think what I actually want to do is put in a Blood Tithe Harvester. So I'm going to get a blood token. They can kill it with just like a Fatal Push, but I really hope they just don't have one of those. Like, we've already seen one Fatal Push here. They can kill this to kill this, but I think I'm actually okay with that. And that is what they're going to do. Okay. Come on. Yeah, I'm off it. Let's go to game 3. Like, or rather, let's go to our third round. You know, yeah, I don't know. The mulligan felt okay. Missing the land obviously hurt, but I don't think we can go to 5 against a Thoughtseize deck. So I think that's just going to be one that we were just not going to win. And I think I'm actually okay with that. So we had the plan active, right? Like, they did the Liliana, we got to Orvar, and they just happen to have the other pieces of removal to line up with everything. And with the addition of Cut Down, that's going to be the case a lot more of the time. But we had the Slip out the back. So really all we needed to do there was just give ourselves the ability to hit our land drops. And I actually think this game was okay, right? Because we had the Geistlight Snare and we had both the Spirit and the Enchantment at the same time, so Liliana would not have resolved. Slip out the back would have protected from the Blood Tithe Harvester and the Fatal Push. So honestly, I think I'm okay with that. Given that gambit, I would keep that hand again and try again. And if I lose because of it, so what? Let's move on to the next round. Okay, so we've got our third round here. We are on the draw. I am going to keep this. I know that it's sketchy, but I think I still keep this knowing that it's a little sketchy. Black, white, humans? Okay. That actually is a pretty decent draw. Let's play our first Shacklegeist and see if I can manage to not have it Fatal Pushed. I'm pretty sure it's going to get Fatal Pushed, yeah. And even that's not the end of the world here. Like, this Treacherous Blessing. We're playing against Doom Foretold? Shit. All right. You got it. So let's play the Shacklegeist. Oh my god. How do I get out of this if they just cast the Doom Foretold? I don't think we do. Oh my Lanta. Yikes. And you know what? Oh good, they tapped out. So now I can slip out the back. Well, we're actually okay now. So they can discard one of my 3 Curious effects, but you know, as we're gonna see fairly shortly, that's really not an effective plan. So that part's nice. So, oh, they're just reading Combat Research. You got it. And they take my Shacklegeist. That makes sense. So they can go ahead and get an attack in, make a land drop if they need to, or rather if they have it. And it's not an untapped land, so I feel pretty safe with this. And I'm going to only play 1 because I do want to draw another Shacklegeist, or sorry, another Rattle Chains, a Geistlight Snare, or even just like another blue land. Not quite, but let's see what happens. And if they play something like Liliana of the Veil here, I can go ahead and cast Shacklegeist at instant speed now to kind of help protect myself. So like, that's not nothing, but they do have just as many cards as we do now. So not really a fan of them having a bunch of cards too. So we let them lose a life. We flash this in because our Rattle Chains is going to die, or I guess get exiled. And if this is another removal spell in their hand, then honestly, it just kind of sucks to be us here. Another Treacherous Blessing. Okay. So I can do a couple of things here. I can Curious Obsession here, get my attack on, and let them go to 7. I think that is the plan. But I'm going to do this as well. So now I can draw 2 cards and just really hope to come up with some kind of action plan here. I don't hate the Mausoleum Wanderer. Or do I just play Supreme Phantom, try to goad them into casting some kind of sweeper, like, I don't know, Kaya's Wrath, and then play land, Wanderer, attack with Faceless Haven? I think I want to do that. So now, if they have a spot of removal for this, that's not just the end of the world, because they're still taking 2 damage every time they cast a spell. So that is going to be important. That's a pathway, okay. Courtyard, Shatter Sanctum, Meat Hook Massacre. Okay, so they are going to gain 2, right? Yeah, let's do what we thought we wanted to do earlier. So now they go to 3. If they want to cast anything, they go to 1. All right, Treacherous Blessing, let's go. They do cast Doom Foretold, so they go to 1, but now they're just gonna die to the, really all of this. All right, cool. Good stuff. Man, haven't seen Doom Foretold in a really long time. I'm gonna put in 2 copies of Negate, 2 Orvars, and that's it. Cards I don't want against them. Ascendant Spirit, since we already saw the Thraben Inspectors, and Brazen Borrower is really embarrassing against that deck. So, like, bouncing their stuff, other than exactly Doom Foretold, is... Actually, I think that's a good enough reason to play it. Never mind. Shacklegeist is not as good. I was going to say, bouncing all of their stuff other than Doom Foretold is actively terrible because they have, so many enter the battlefield effects, like bouncing a Treacherous Blessing, for example, is almost exactly the opposite of what we want to be doing. But I think bouncing Doom Foretold itself is probably a good enough reason to warrant. Okay, this hand isn't bad. We're on the draw, but we've got Slip, Negate, Rattlechain, Supreme Phantom, and... This will lead to the game going a little bit longer because they can take one of these, and I don't want to jam these out without protection anyway. So I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a slugfest, and they take our Negate, which makes me think that they're already holding on to like a Treacherous Blessing or a Doom Foretold that they really want to resolve. So let's see if that ends up being what happens here. So I'm going to just jam out the Supreme Phantom because my first creature is more than likely just going to die anyway. So I might as well... Oh, that's okay. They take the Rattlechains, I assume. Oh, are we taking the Slip instead? They take Rattlechains, okay. So is my Supreme Phantom about to die then? So they could have a lot of things here. They could have... Oh, wow. Okay. Having nothing was probably the least likely thing here, but I've got 3 more lands and I don't want this. More spells, please. That counts. Not the best one, but I'll take it. Iganjo. Not bad. All right. So now I really just want... Counterspells would be most lovely. Thank you for listening. Because I really just don't want them to go around resolving things. Nothing. Okay. I don't even know what they were looking for there. Like, that could have been anything from Kalitas to Shieldred to even Thraben Inspector. Trying to predict what they could be playing sounds kind of like a mess. Oh, absolutely not. No. Hard negative. So this card is great. So 4 mana 3/4. Once during each of your turns, you can play a land from your graveyard. That one's irrelevant. Or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard, which is everything that you can sack with Doom Foretold. And then when you do, the things come back with a piece of text that says, if it would die, it gets exiled instead and you gain 2 life. Like, it's literally all upside. This card is absolutely amazing. Perfect. So now I'm going to get to flash this in, make my Mausoleum Wanderer a 3/3, and then actually counter this. And I still have my 2-turn clock active unless they kill this, but it looks like they can't. Cool. Opponent said nice. I will say thank you. I think they actually did appreciate the good play. I don't think that was them being salty. Aw, boo. Dang it. Now what? Another land? Come on. You're killing me. Okay. So they get to draw another card, and that's just like a random piece of synergy to go with the Doom Foretold. I'm not necessarily super worried about spare supplies on its own. Yeah, card's just good. All right, so I get to do this, and now if they don't kill my one of these 2 things next turn, I have exactly a good clock here. So let's see what they can come up with. So they can pop this to draw another card. They got 4 more mana, but that does mean without a land, they can't resolve a Kaya's Wrath. Fuck. Do you have lifelink? No. Okay. At least it doesn't have lifelink. No! Come on! Why? Oh man. So they can reuse the spare supplies again? I mean, they can also just like make a land drop, but I'm sure they're playing spare supplies. So like a spirit would be good to pump this. Game 3 it is. Oh man. I don't think I change anything about the plan though. So being on the play will be especially nice. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the opponent's deck. Like, Sarah Paragon looks really good in a lot of things. Like, I even considered playing 1 or 2 copies in Curious Obsession list blue-white spirits list, because being able to rinse and reuse things like Rattlechains and Selfless Spirit every turn seems really good. So that is a thing that kind of I considered. And if we go back to one of those bigger builds that plays things like, I don't know, like Yorion, for example, we played a previous version that was almost like a mid-range Spirits deck with cards like Shark Typhoon, the Wandering Emperor, but otherwise your regular Spirits package. That deck also played Elspeth Resplendent. Something like that that goes just a little bit bigger. I think that would really appreciate having access to Sarah Paragon. So it's not completely unexplored space, and I might end up going back to that at some point in the future. Not sure. So here we're going to be on the play with a honestly kind of excellent hand. So what do I want to start with? I think I want to just Spectral Sailor, since we know they play Vanishing Verse. Perfect. So now I get to do this, play the land, and I know they play the Vanishing Verse, so I'm actually going to give myself the chance to have Geistlight Snare / Slip Out the Back, and then next turn I can play Mausoleum Wanderer. Vanishing / what do you do? Destroy if you have an artifact energy. Oh, that's cool. Not going to happen, but it's cool. And I want to cast the Supreme Phantom holding up Geistlight Snare, or do I want a Mausoleum Wanderer, Geistlight Snare, giving myself 2 points of protection? We'll find out. What do we draw? A slip. That means I'm definitely playing this. So now I have 2 different 1-mana solutions, and if I draw a land next turn, I can have Supreme Phantom plus these 2. So like that's kind of lit. A Duress is allowed. I have 2 different things to say about this. I want to let them take Slip Out the Back. No, because I'm already only casting one of these spells if I let them discard the other anyway, so I might as well give myself the opportunity to cast both my spells. So this way they can mind their business about these 2. If they resolve a Liliana, surprise, and I still have access to the Slip Out the Back in case of like a Vanishing Verse. Okay, so we have the land 2. What do you do as a spell? Right. Like, I am going to cast this pre-combat. I kind of want to get the game over with. So now let's see what happens from here. If this is another spell, I actually want to use the Mausoleum Wanderer here? Question mark? Yes. So I want to draw the card. I want to give myself the chance to use Slip Out the Back against Akaya's Wrath. That is kind of medium, if I'm being honest. Okay. So this plays if they play exactly land Doom Foretold. Whoa. Okay. They can sacrifice a creature to make me sacrifice Supreme Phantom? I'm fine with that, actually. Artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see if they sacrifice a creature. They sacked a land. Okay. I'm just going to untap. So since I'm drawing more cards than them, I actually am super okay with this development. So yeah, this is fine. I don't know if I like sacrificing a land from my opponent's perspective there. So in theory, they could go ahead and do something like resolve a Sarah Paragon. Duress will take my Slip Out the Back. Let's give ourselves a chance to use my cards proactively. So here I'm going to target this. See if they respond with a, oh my god, they just do nothing. Cool. I didn't expect them to have nothing to try to kill the Spectral Sailor with. I was kind of expecting them to play like a Vanishing Verse or a Fatal Push that I could have responded to with Rattle Chains. But looks like this is just going to be relatively peachy for me here. And like if they sacrifice Braids to get rid of Supreme Phantom, like I said earlier, I am super okay with that. Meat Hook Massacre, where X is 0. They can sack an enchantment to get rid of my enchantment. But I think I'm just going to do this. Okay. So let's attack for 5, take them down to 5, and draw another protection spell. Not quite, but not bad. And I've got 2 castable creatures here. Yeah, I'm in. Rite of Oblivion. Yeah, they know about the Rattle Chains. Whatever. So if this is just like a... Okay, nothing. Sick. I was going to say, so if it's a Fatal Push, then whatever, you got me. But even then, I can just flash and Brazen Power and still win that anyway. But yeah, good stuff overall. Good job beating up on all these crazy black decks. So, we just finished playing 3 rounds, and as predicted, we've played against a lot of black decks. So, we did really expect Thoughtseize, Duress, Liliana to be a pretty big part of the meta, and we already see only 3 matches in that, well, that's exactly what happened. So that's why I wanted to specifically focus on cards like Orvar out of the sideboard to really help with the Liliana discard, with the Kroxa discard, and we played against a black-red mid-range deck in the second round, and overall, I think we ended up getting to do the thing, right? We even correctly predicted that Ascended Spirit would be probably lackluster in a format that wants to play a lot of these low-to-the-ground, ground-pounding creatures, like the Thraben Inspector we saw earlier, like the 3/2, Blood Tithe Harvester, like Graveyard Trespassers, all of these things that we expected people to be playing to gum up the ground, and all of those things ended up actually happening. We even played against Gilded Goose, which is a card that we don't necessarily want to see when we're potentially putting a combat research on an Ascendant Spirit, making just a 1 power ground attacker. You know, not exactly the best vibes. So we're only going to be playing 2 Ascendant Spirit, and I think that might end up being the correct way going in the future, because it is nice to have a 9th and a 10th 1-drop, but I don't even know that it's not right to forego Ascendant Spirit altogether and maybe play something like Lantern Bearer to get your more consistent attacks going off more often. So that's going to be a thing that we might explore in the future, pun intended, and just start playing all flyers instead of Ascendant Spirit, which, while really powerful, it requires you to put a lot of mana into it to get over these relatively powerful ground pounders. So I think that might end up being the wave in the future. I did already, like I said, we cut it down to 2 because I already thought it would be lackluster, and it turns out it was even worse than I thought. So yeah, we'll see how that goes in the future. Playing Lantern Bearer over this also enables us to the option of playing Lofty Denial again, because everything else in our deck flies, which is honestly well and good, but giving ourselves access to more actual counter spells in a field of Liliana of the Veil, in a field of Graveyard Trespassers, where we really just don't want these things to hit the table in the first place because they already generate value by themselves, rather than playing a honestly currently soft threat. I think that might end up being a thing that we end up exploring too, is just the option to give ourselves Lofty Denial again. So I think I might end up liking that. I do still super love to Slip Out the Backs, and at some point, the 4th copy of Slip Out the Back might just make its way into this here sideboard. Again, the Orzhov was actually pretty good. Like, we had it in hand when we wanted it against the discard decks, and yes, we lost round 2 to Black-Red anyway, but that second game, I still think given one more land drop early, I think we would have won that game fairly handily, and we had the Orzhov against the Liliana that they played. So, like, we had options and outs, and even in that game, I could have simply made an island token, but we ended up not drawing creatures anyway, so whatever, that one's kind of what it is. You can't win them all. But I do like the fact that our plan, it came together, right? Like, we played against the black-green mid-range deck, and they certainly had that game 1 line up for them very well, where it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to get all my removal, then I'm going to finish with all my threats, I'm going to play these things that you're going to have a very hard time overcoming, and good luck dealing with that. But thanks to, like, the Negate, the Orzhov, things like that, we were, in fact, able to overcome that. And in the last matchup against Doom Foretold deck, that deck is actually really hard for us sometimes, because they play cards like Trial of Ambition, which, you know, we can't use Rattle Chains against, for example. They play cards like the Caius Wraths that we saw, and against them, the games can go long enough for them to make use of it. The cards like the Sarah Paragon make for really good finishers out of that. So, honestly, overall, really good stuff. But that's going to be it for today's video. We're going to be playing a lot more versions of Spirits over the course of this week, and just make sure we keep an eye out for what I think is going to be a return to streaming. No promises on how often I want to do that, but it is something I'm exploring since we do have a lot of spare times on hands now. So I'm at least considering it. Let me know if you're interested in watching something like that. And if it becomes relatively consistent, perfect. But like I said, that's going to be it for today. If you like what you're watching, as always, make sure to click like on a video, let me know. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see y'all in the next one.